From banned wallpaper and airbrushed bikini scandals to a calendar that raised more than a few eyebrows. These are the 10 most controversial pieces in my Spice Girls collection. And trust me, you've never seen memorabilia like this. The Spice Girls are some of the sweetest, most positive women around. They've always made time for fans. And they continue to give us music, merch, and even the occasional reunion tour. I genuinely love them, and this video, like all my others, is made with nothing but love, respect, and celebration for everything they've brought to pop culture. That said, today's video looks at some of the more controversial items in my collection. Pieces that tell the story of moments when the group faced criticism, controversy, or were let down by people around them. It's not about tearing anyone down, it's about showing how strong, resilient, and real the Spice Girls have always been. An integral part of who they are and what they represent, which should not be overlooked. Legal cases, tabloid scandals, and criticized album covers, this video has it all. Stick around to the end. The final item is by far the most controversial one I own, and you won't want to miss it. At 10, it's a solo album cover that road safety campaigners called dangerous. Geri Halliwell's second solo album, Scream If You Want to Go Faster, was highly anticipated. It followed a string of 4 UK #1 singles, and its lead single was a powerhouse. A cover of the Weather Girls' hit It's Raining Men. The track spent 2 weeks at #1 in the UK, sold widely across Europe, and became the best-selling solo single by any Spice Girls member to date. Originally, the first single was set to be a track called Feels Like Sex, but the success of It's Raining Men, bolstered by its inclusion on the Bridget Jones's Diary soundtrack, made it the obvious choice to launch the album. When Scream If You Want to Go Faster was finally released on the 14th of May 2001, Geri pulled out all the stops. Live performances at gay clubs, magazine covers, and appearances on major TV shows performing album tracks. But the album wasn't without controversy. Road safety campaigners criticized the cover art, which featured Geri rollerskating while holding on to the back of a white Cadillac. While the imagery was typical of Geri, fun, bold, and symbolic of movement and freedom, some felt it sent the wrong message to younger fans, potentially encouraging risky behavior. Jane Eason of the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents said that it was very irresponsible behavior from the singer. She elaborated, "We are very concerned about kids playing with roller skates, micro scooters, or skateboards anywhere near roads, never mind hanging onto the back of cars," explaining that a significant amount of problems resulted when similar tricks were used in a film from the Back to the Future franchise. She finished by saying that considering that Halliwell was banned from driving months before the album's release, she found it very wrong of her to encourage this kind of thing. Mary Williams of road safety organization Break shared similar feelings, stating that Geri Halliwell is an icon for young children, and our worry is that kids will be tempted to copy her. I would have hoped that Geri and her advisors would have had a little foresight into the possible consequences of such a message. Her spokesperson quickly responded, dismissing the concerns and calling the image simply a fun and bright album cover. The shoot, after all, featured Geri in playful motion, on everything from aeroplanes to shopping trolleys, capturing the energy and empowerment the album was meant to represent. It didn't appear to harm the album's success, and after all, a little controversy was usually good for record sales. The album didn't sell as many copies as was hoped, however, and despite peaking at #5 on the UK album chart and its following 2 singles also making the top 10, the project was over by the end of the year, and it would be another 4 years before her next album release. At 9 is a lesser-known item which felt as random as it did shocking. We all know Emma Bunton as sweet, sexy, and effortlessly cool. With her second solo album, the sophisticated pop record Free Me, she showcased a more mature sound, drawing heavily from her love of 1960s big band influences. The album's lead single, also titled Free Me, played like a Bond theme, lush string arrangements, a slow-burning yet powerful melody, and sensual lyrics. The accompanying video reflected this perfectly, with Emma looking radiant, arguably at her most striking. The album's promotional imagery, music videos, and press photos inspired official Emma calendars for both 2004 and 2005, so as 2006 approached, releasing a third calendar made sense. This time, however, a dedicated photo shoot was staged, with Emma posing for each month in seasonally themed outfits. For August, she delivered what may be her boldest image yet, wearing a bikini top and dungarees while licking a melting 99 ice cream cone. The photo was undeniably playful and provocative, and the publishers took note, choosing it as the calendar's cover. The choice caught fans off guard. Not only was there no new album to promote at the time, but the image's overt sexiness was a surprising pivot from her usual style. Surprising, but not unwelcome. The Spice Girls have always embraced their sexuality as a form of empowerment, never allowing it to overshadow their artistry. Their expression was confident, cheeky, and celebratory, never crass. Emma's calendar cover continued in that spirit. It was fun, bold, and entirely aligned with her message of confidence, femininity, and playful self-expression, staying true to the unique spiciness that has always defined her. At 8, It's a Mistake, a design oversight that saw products withdrawn from the shelves of, wait for it, DIY stores. In late 1997, the Spice Girls were more than just a pop group. They were a cultural phenomenon and a powerful brand. Their influence extended far beyond the music charts, with a vast array of licensed merchandise and brand collaborations appearing in major retailers across the UK, from supermarkets to record stores, and even DIY chains like Homebase and B&Q. Spice Girls products were everywhere. Among the more unusual offerings was a line of homeware, including lampshades, bedding, and wallpaper. While children's characters like Thomas the Tank Engine or Barbie had long enjoyed this kind of exposure, for a music act, it was virtually unprecedented. But controversy soon followed. One of the original wallpaper designs featured a photo of Emma Bunton wearing a dress that appeared to include lettering resembling a serious swear word. It's widely believed the word was FCUK, the then provocative branding for French Connection UK. However, the only surviving images of the shoot are low resolution, making it impossible to confirm. According to reports, the manufacturers withdrew the product from shelves once the issue was flagged, although not before some units had already been sold. The wallpaper was swiftly replaced with a revised design, while the matching border strip remained unchanged. Both versions are now part of the collection. It may seem a curious oversight to have selected this particular image, but it could explain why Emma appears partially obscured behind the other group members in later shots from the same session, including on one of the group's biggest single artworks, Two Become One. The Beckhams were one of the most recognizable families in the world, and in 2004, they found themselves at the center of a media storm. Shocking claims made by a former personal assistant dominated front pages, and many assumed Victoria Beckham would cancel her upcoming publicity commitments in the wake of the scandal. But she didn't. At number 7 is the May 2004 issue of Marie Claire, featuring Victoria looking radiant on the cover. By this time, she had rejoined 19 Management, the powerhouse agency led by former Spice Girls manager Simon Fuller, and was fully focused on relaunching her solo music career. In the lead-up to 2004, Victoria had committed to an ambitious promotional campaign. Her new music explored two contrasting directions: glossy pop dance on one side and edgy hip-hop-inspired tracks on the other. The double-side single, This Groove, Let Your Head Go, reflected this dual identity and achieved a respectable number 3 position on the UK singles chart. though the Beckham family were living in Madrid at the time. Due to David's contract with Real Madrid, Victoria frequently traveled back to the UK for promotional appearances. In spring 2004, a former assistant of David Beckham gave a tabloid interview alleging an affair, claims the couple denied. In the 2023 Netflix documentary, both Victoria and David reflected on how difficult this period was for them. But in 2004, they publicly maintained a united front and carried on with their professional commitments. For Victoria, that included the Marie Claire cover shoot and accompanying interview, one the magazine reportedly assumed she would cancel. Instead, she arrived as scheduled, addressed the rumors, and posed for one of her most glamorous photo shoots. Ironically, the single she was promoting at the time, an up-tempo dance track titled My Love Is For Real, was never released due to the collapse of her label, Telstar Records. Furthermore, the article ends by promoting it incorrectly as Mine For Real. In hindsight, the interview became less about music promotion and more about controlling the narrative, giving Victoria the chance to speak directly to the public in an era before social media. At 6, it's a shocking way to treat a woman. In late summer 2000, Mel B began promotion for her debut solo album, Hot. By then, she had already scored 2 exciting top 20 singles. The chart-topping I Want You Back and Word Up from the Austin Powers movie soundtrack. With this momentum behind her, expectations for the album were high. A series of magazine features were arranged to maximize visibility ahead of the album's release and to support its lead single, Tell Me. Hot was shaped by the sound of American R&B, a direction also taken by the Spice Girls on their third studio album, Forever, released just weeks later. Production duties were shared between R&B powerhouses Rodney Darkchild Jerkins and the legendary duo Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, plus a selection of others. At the time, this sleek, seductive style of R&B came with a particular visual identity, youthful, glossy, and unapologetically sexy. Melanie B embraced that image. The Hot album cover featured her confidently posing in a bikini under the blazing sun of a desert backdrop, bold, self-assured, and very much in line with pop fashion at the turn of the millennium. Some of her accompanying press features leaned into that sex appeal, but one, in particular, crossed a line. In its October 2000 issue, Loaded magazine featured a striking and misleading cover image of Mel B. The photo showed her appearing completely nude, with only a swarm of digitally added bees covering her intimate areas, a pun, presumably, on her name, Mel B. But the image was a fabrication. Melanie had posed in a bikini for the original shoot. She was shocked to discover that the Loaded art department had airbrushed out her swimwear and added the bees, falsely suggesting she had posed nude. Mel later stated that she had been promised image approval and had never approved the doctored cover. The outcome of her complaint isn't well documented, but the incident reflects a wider issue: how women in the public eye, especially during the height of tabloid culture, were frequently objectified and exploited to sell magazines. Consent was often ignored. Image manipulation was common, and female celebrities were seen as fair game. Yes, sex sells. And yes, provocative imagery often played a role in music promotion, but there are boundaries. Melanie B never agreed to pose nude for Loaded, and she had every right to object to how her image was manipulated. At 5, it's the group's only cover feature for top gay magazine Attitude. In early August 1998, the September issue of Attitude magazine hit newsstands, featuring the Spice Girls on the cover in one of their most striking and unconventional photo shoots to date. Styled in bold Village People-inspired outfits, the headline teased, "The Spice Girls as you've never seen them before." And it was no exaggeration. The cover image showed the group in a relaxed setting, casually enjoying snacks around a table, a laid-back departure from their usual high-glamour appearances. But inside, the tone shifted. Two of the inner pages featured images of the group posing with guns, a creative choice that quickly became controversial. Victoria is seen holding a gun to the mouths of both Emma and Melanie C. in two separate shots. The shoot had taken place in the US during the American leg of their global tour. Though it was understood that the guns were likely props, and the shoot was intended for an adult magazine with an edgy tone, the images caused concern. Critics in the media questioned the decision, especially given the group's enormous influence over young fans. At a time when issues around gun violence were gaining attention internationally, the shoot was seen by some as tone-deaf or even irresponsible. Despite the brief controversy, the group's momentum didn't falter. That same month, they secured their 7th UK #1 single with Viva Forever. And in September, they closed their record-breaking Spice World Tour with 4 massive stadium shows back home in England. A powerful finish to one of the biggest pop tours of the decade. A regrettable assignment to manufacture charity t-shirts is at 4. In November 2018, the Spice Girls announced a major reunion tour across Britain and Ireland, a long-awaited comeback that sent the media into a frenzy. As the most iconic girl group in history, their return to the stage was headline news around the world. In the days following the announcement, the group launched a line of charity t-shirts and sweatshirts sold through their official website. Branded with the slogan #IWannaBeASpiceGirl, the merchandise was created in support of a comic relief campaign promoting gender justice. The designs were simple but impactful, and fans were quick to snap them up, eager to support both the group and the cause. But the campaign soon faced a serious backlash. Shortly after the products launched, it was reported that the t-shirts were being produced in a factory in Bangladesh, where women were reportedly paid just 35 pence an hour. Even more disturbingly, the same factory was accused of abusive and exploitative conditions, including harassment of workers. The revelations stood in direct contrast to the messaging of the campaign and sparked widespread criticism. A spokesperson for the Spice Girls said the group were deeply shocked and appalled and pledged to personally fund an investigation into the working conditions at the factory. Comic Relief issued a similar response, stating it was shocked and concerned. Both parties said they had carried out due diligence on Represent, the e-commerce platform commissioned to produce and sell the garments. However, it later emerged that Represent had switched manufacturers without informing them. Represent issued a statement taking full responsibility, offering refunds to customers and stating that they would work to rectify the situation. The Spice Girls later called on the company to donate all profits from the range to campaigns aiming to end such injustices. The incident highlighted the ongoing challenges of ensuring ethical production in the fashion and merchandise industries, even in charitable initiatives. At 3, it's one of the highest-profile legal cases in Spice World, the Aprilia case. In March 1998, the Spice Girls were midway through the European leg of their record-breaking world tour, promoting their second album, Spice World. On the very day their single Stop was released in the UK, the group was in Milan, Italy, unveiling their latest brand partnership. A bold collaboration with Italian scooter manufacturer Aprilia, as shown on these promotional postcards. The result was the Spice Sonic, a line of scooters featuring colorful branding and promotional imagery of all 5 members. The campaign included photo shoots, advertisements, and a TV commercial. It was another high-profile tie-in, designed to keep Spice fever alive across Europe. The company in return sponsored the Spice World Tour, with their advertisements featuring in the tour program. But just 2 months later, in May 1998, the group was rocked by a seismic change. Geri Halliwell quit the Spice Girls, leaving the band as a 4-piece. Aprilia claimed the fallout from Geri's sudden exit had a negative impact on scooter sales, especially since the product still featured her image. They argued that the band knew about Geri's plans to leave before the deal was finalized, and that they had failed to disclose that crucial information. In early 2000, the dispute ended up in court. Emma Bunton was chosen to represent the group, while Geri Halliwell, now a solo artist, appeared as a witness. The Spice Girls maintained that while Geri had made passing remarks around Christmas 1997 or early 1998 about potentially leaving the band, the comments were not taken seriously at the time. Adding to the legal drama, the Spice Girls countersued Aprilia for allegedly withholding sponsorship payments. The case drew widespread media attention, with photographs of both Emma and Geri attending court widely published in the press. Ever the showwoman, Geri used the spotlight to promote her latest single, Bag It Up, carrying a handbag emblazoned with her trademark girl powder branding. The band lost their case and consequently lost a lot of money. It's fair to say that a courtroom battle wasn't in keeping with the Spice Girls' famously positive image, and likely wasn't something the group relished. But Geri had been there to testify for the group, so at least she did her bit for their case. Interestingly, rather than damaging their legacy, Geri's departure only seemed to intensify public fascination. Imagery of the 5 original members remained iconic, and if anything, merchandise like the Spice Sonic scooters only grew in desirability as nostalgic collector's items in the years that followed. At number 2 on our list is a moment that may have felt devastating for fans, though in hindsight, not entirely unexpected. On March 9, 2001, the Sun newspaper printed a now infamous headline, "End of the Spice Girls." It was a front-page declaration that marked what many believed to be the group's official split. The story followed an interview in which Melanie C., still promoting her solo album Northern Star overseas, stated that she had no plans to work with the Spice Girls again. While the group's core fan base had somewhat diminished by that point, this was still major news. Many fans were still holding out hope for a tour or further singles from Forever. But this moment felt like the final nail, even if no formal announcement was made. As it turns out, that silence was deliberate. The group later revealed that they never intended to publicly declare a split in the hopes that they would avoid media attention. In the days after the Sun's headline, Emma Bunton appeared on Saturday morning television, promoting her own debut solo album. She was joined by Melanie C. via phone call. Together, they denied the reports and insisted that this wasn't the end. But as Melanie later admitted in her autobiography, Who I Am, her comments had clearly upset the other Spice Girls, leaving them both sad and angry. Melanie has since spoken extensively about the personal struggles she faced at the time, challenges that undoubtedly affected her perspective and decision-making. Still, her remarks gave the press exactly what they had been waiting for, an excuse to officially declare the Spice Girls over. Her live phone and during Emma's TV appearance helped reassure fans that friendships remained intact, but it was clear the group had no plans to resume activities. For now, the Spice Girls era was over, and yet, behind the scenes, they remained deeply connected. The group continued to share their business ventures, office space, and longtime manager Nancy Phillips for years after Forever. Their bond, though bruised, was not broken. Before we reveal the number 1 most controversial item in my collection, here's a reminder of what we've seen so far. At 10, it was the Scream If You Wanna Go Faster album cover that sparked road safety concerns. At 9, we saw Emma Bunton's sexy calendar cover. At 8, Emma's sweary dress caused wallpaper to be withdrawn from stores. 7 gave us Victoria's unexpectedly not cancelled Marie Claire magazine cover feature. Mel B's complaint against Loaded magazine air brushing out her bikini is at 6. At 5, we saw Victoria playing with a gun for Attitude magazine. At 4, we had the regrettable gender justice t-shirts from Bangladesh. The Aprilia court case was at 3. And at 2, we saw the end of the Spice Girls as a group, for the time being. At 1, it's the first controversy to hit the band, Geri's glamour modeling. In her autobiography, Just for the Record, Geri Halliwell wrote that she didn't mind a bit of controversy, especially when she had a record to promote. It was a statement that perfectly captured her bold, unapologetic personality. But not all of her bandmates shared that mindset. That contrast became painfully clear in late October 1996, just as the Spice Girls were preparing to release their debut album, Spice. At the height of their rising fame, British tabloids unearthed and published topless and nude photographs from Geri's former career as a glamour model, a past she had openly acknowledged, but not in such explicit visual detail. While the other four members were aware of Geri's history, the full extent of the images reportedly came as a surprise. With a large fan base of very young children, the scandal was awkward at best, and potentially damaging to the group's carefully managed public image. Still, the Spice Girls publicly stood together. In interviews, they brushed off the controversy with characteristic honesty and humor. "We're not perfect," they said. "Everyone has a past. It was just pictures of boobs, and Geri needed the money." Their solidarity helped diffuse the media firestorm, but behind the scenes, tensions were likely high. The incident didn't just affect Geri, it affected all five members, and friction within the group would have been understandable. And yet, as the dust settled, the controversy seemed to do the opposite of harm. If anything, it added to the frenzied fascination with the Spice Girls. The media and the public couldn't get enough of them, even when the headlines turned provocative. In true pop culture fashion, even bad publicity worked in their favor. It's worth saying, of course, that there's no shame in women choosing to model or sell images of their bodies. If it's their choice, it's their right. But this was the mid-1990s, and cultural attitudes were still heavily shaped by conservative, outdated values. It's easy to imagine that some parents may have quietly frowned upon their children idolizing a group whose member had posed nude in the past. Fast forward to May 1998, the very month Geri left the group. Playboy magazine published a multi-page spread celebrating her glamour modeling work. They even placed her on the cover, using her now iconic Union Jack dress image, a symbolic moment of British pop culture crossing over into international adult media. Interestingly, Geri included the Playboy feature in her debut autobiography, if only, a clear signal that she was, and perhaps still is, proud of that chapter in her life. These moments of controversy, though unwelcome, add a sense of intrigue and vulnerability to the Spice Girls' story. Their chapters the group themselves may prefer to forget, but for fans they help to paint a fuller picture. A reminder that beneath the glitter, the headlines, and the global fame, these were real people. Imperfect, yes, but resilient, honest, and true to their message. Their story is one of empowerment and ambition, of five women who didn't claim to be perfect, but who always tried to do good, and who, against all odds, survived the pressures of being the most famous pop group on the planet.
This is about girl power.